But I'm not gonna salute the flag.
No, I
We're
don't,
just
you're on,
meeting, right?
you're
I'm
on.
gonna reopen the Tufton Selectmen meeting for November 25th, 2019. And our next item of business is approval of the minutes. I only have the November 18th public hearing before the minutes.
Yep, that's right, yep.
Huh? Yeah. I didn't, I don't have any changes.
Please go to page 2. You see where it says 4215 ambulance?
Yep,
Go to the next paragraph, it says Chief Shigori.
yep.
Go to the end and add the following comment. One cruiser has a rear axle seal leak.
Does that comport with what we remember? I mean, I remember talking about all kinds of things.
Yeah.
So you want to have that axle seal leak in the minutes?
Yes.
Okay. So, did you get that, Karen?
Yep, one cruiser has a rear axle seal leak.
All right.
Okay.
I'll move that we,
I have another one.
oh, you have another one?
Yes.
Jesus, you've been muted. All right.
It was a quiet weekend. Please go to page 3. Go to the middle of the page where it says health and dental insurance.
Yep,
Please go up to the, not the last sentence, but the sentence before that. That says Chief Shigori responded to Selectman Wood that they have people qualified in-house to inspect firearms and cited reasons for not sending them out for, please change the word inspection to annual maintenance.
I'm not gonna do that, because he said inspection. Is it, I mean, what, where are we going here?
I just asked him if he meant annual maintenance, and he said yes. But
Okay, is that, I mean,
I don't remember. What I remember in the conversation is, you brought up that we ought to send them back to the manufacturer for refurbishment. And he indicated that we have an armorer in-house, that we don't use the weapons extensively, and that because of the design and construction of the weapons, that sending them back to the manufacturer
Double our inventory of weapons.
Yeah,
wouldn't they?
yeah.
I mean, I don't have a problem with changing it, but I don't understand what the operative difference is.
okay.
I mean, no, explain it to me.
Sure.
I'm fine with changing it to what you said, I just don't know what it means.
I'll defer to my brother Selectman's recollections.
I know, your recollection's probably clearer than mine. I just am not as familiar with guns, not having ever owned one.
Right.
The difference between annual service and inspection, I don't know what.
Okay, that's fine.
Is it okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
All right. And then the next time the chief is in, then maybe he'll educate me as to what that is.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So I'll move approval as corrected.
I'll
Second.
second, or you can second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the next item is Verizon Wireless Facility 69 Sodom Road, Tim Mead,
Yes,
which must be you.
it is.
Okay.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
We've read your request, I think we've all read it, have we not?
Yes.
Yep.
What do you got for us?
Yeah, so, I mean, Verizon obviously recognizes that Tufton Road has has a big hole in coverage here, and, you know, I've talked with Chief Thompson about service around here, and he said that there's a lot of hard to get calls in here and hard to get calls out, and so Verizon is looking to, you know, try to fill those gaps in with some wireless facilities and towers. So one of the main areas that they want is so they issue a search ring where they want a particular candidate, and one of the rings falls on the 69 Sodom Road, and the other one falls right on to the fire station as well. So So Verizon's looking to, well, so this is kind of just like a preliminary stage. I just wanted to gauge. Usually my process is to reach out to the town first to see, if they're interested and to see if we can work something out, because obviously want to, benefit the town somehow. And so right now we're at the beginning stages, just to gauge interest and to see, if, we would be good to proceed on these lands. But I was talking with the fire chief. Something that Verizon can do is, if we're allowed to build a tower, we probably need about like 110, 120 foot tower to, shoot over the tree lines and to effectively, provide coverage. We would allow the town to, or the fire department to install their equipment at the top of the towers, so they would have higher vantage point and to, have their service improve throughout the town. So this is kind of, I just wanted to come here just to, introduce myself and, just to see how interested the town is in possibly getting something done to, get these towers, if that's something that is of interest,
I guess we can all speak to it. I suppose I'm looking at Sodom Road, and just on the other side of that hill is a tower. I mean, we're clustering them at that point.
Yes.
Some reason why you can't go onto that tower?
So I believe we're already, so it's not familiar, but it's to the west of
Right.
the land. Yeah, I believe we're on that one already, and it's still, I think is it like 1.5 miles or 2 miles away? Or is it right
No,
next
it's
to
close,
it?
closer than
It's
that,
closer
it's
to
just
that?
up on Prospect Hill.
Okay.
It's too short. They were restricted on the height on the tower. It doesn't.
It's so shadowed by the,
Yeah.
The expectation is that we wouldn't be too short on the other side of the hill.
If they're not restricted on the height.
But
Yeah.
the planning board's gonna weigh in on that.
Right.
Yeah, because I know the elevation changes drastically throughout the town, but I know that we are on that one, so
Right.
I'll have to check with them, but I'm sure there is a reason why they need a second
But
one.
that's not the only hole in town. I mean, I can.
Right,
take
oh,
you
yes,
up
yes.
on Ledge Hill
Oh, I
Road,
know,
there's
yeah.
no reception at all.
Yes.
I mean, we've got, and I know you're not in the broadband business,
Mm.
but we've got letters going out to all providers pursuant to a new Senate bill that just passed, Senate Bill 170, to do a survey of all unserved
Mhm.
residents in the town.
Mhm.
And I'd really be interested if, for your company to actually make the drive around town and figure out where there is service,
Yes.
rather than just putting up another tower that helps the fire department, which is wonderful,
Mhm.
but let's solve the problem.
Yeah, of course, we do, so with the RF affidavit, it's kind of showing the gap in, for Verizon purpose, the gap in coverage.
Right.
What's it like right now and how it's gonna improve once, if the theoretical tower is installed, how coverage is gonna improve and how far it's gonna shoot over. So we can have those reports done for you.
I just, we're gonna, I don't know if it's ever been filed as a lawsuit, but we're gonna study with Lakes Region Plan Commission. Where,
on cell
on cell
service
service.
coverage.
Because your industry's model is if there's cell service somewhere in a 1 mile circle, then there's cell service for the whole 1 mile circle.
Mhm.
And here in Tuftonboro, I'm sure most of New Hampshire, that's not true.
Right, of course, yeah. 'Cause-
So
yeah.
we've been pushing to get a more extensive survey done,
Okay,
so we can figure that out.
yep.
As far as the tower's concerned, I don't have a fundamental problem with putting it on town property,
No.
but you're looking at 120 feet, not 50 feet.
Right.
I don't suppose the towers ever fall over, but we need to accommodate for that at any rate.
Yeah, I mean, so the fall radius, so
Yeah,
the towers are meant to, they rarely ever fall. But say if there's a case that does fall, they don't fall over, they fall straight down. So, but yeah, we do, look for, like 100% fall radius of like, so if it's a 120 tower, we'll make sure there's no other buildings
right.
in the 100% radius. So,
I mean, that affects our use of the property. So you're trying to put it up by the highway department.
Right.
So we need to have, it will be a little longer discussion than what we're having this morning.
Yes, of course, yeah. Yeah, I do know the concern of, if, for say, the tower does fall, yeah, like, but usually I know when they build it, I mean, it's all different, like it could, like say theoretically, it could tip over, but usually if they're falling, they would just collapse.
Yeah,
Straight
I don't
down,
know
not-
anything about.
Yeah, so, once
I
we
know
get.
about liability
Yeah.
insurance and property.
Yeah, once we get, further in the process, if we do proceed, we have experts that, know more information in detail than I do, so we would obviously get those
You guys
guys.
got anything for Mr. Yee?
I just would, I reiterate your general acceptability of looking at putting towers on town-owned property. It's encouraging to me that Verizon is now interested in better cell service, because it's been a problem here for
Yes, 'cause
ever. So
I
it's nice that it's getting some.
Yeah, I looked at my phone and I'm on 3G right now,
Yeah.
and we're almost at 5G, so there's,
And you're at the town office.
Yeah.
yeah, right, exactly. So we do, want to improve the service here, so just again, like this beginning stages, so I just wanted to, get the
Sure.
interest and, just see if we can work something out. And
I don't normally do this. In fact, I don't think I've ever done it. I'm never gonna do it again. Is there any public comment on this plan that Mr. Yee's bringing forward?
The only question I have is, so you're still looking at both?
yes.
Or other areas?
So you're looking at one right on top of the fire station?
No, it was behind the
Yeah,
fire
it's not right on top, but it's in the,
Oh, in the gravel pit?
yeah, it's like in the forested area, so we would obviously.
Up on the ridge behind the.
Whatever, obviously whatever height it is,
Yeah.
Coal
that
mine
distance
to the-
away from the building.
When he's done. I was talking with someone, and they said the decrease in cell service from the actual cell phone was moved during, let's say, the summertime from 1 point to data, to support data infrastructure around in town, which lessened the actual cell phone activity. Am I speaking, do you know what I'm talking about? You go in some places in town, say you get 2 bars, okay? Others less. But what is it you do as far as service is concerned? Moving it from one point to another to increase the activity. If I make myself clear, I don't know if I'm coming across with this okay. I'm talking about data. We have data, we got the actual phone service, and you can manipulate and move the information. I'm just talking, you're Verizon, so I'm just talking to you about
And the
that.
capacity, is that what we're talking about?
Well, yeah, they can,
And they're not gonna move, randomly move
no,
down.
but this may not be relevant, but I just thought I'd ask the question because I was.
High service areas, I think what you're saying, right? Yeah.
I think what he's trying to say is when they increase the level of data, to 5G, it decreases how much service you get as far as phone coverage
So you can't talk as much.
for talking.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. That shouldn't affect anything. It's usually, so how the towers work is, so we have the tower, was on Prospect Hill.
Prospect Hill.
So say you're here and the tower's over there, once you try to get the signal, it has to travel all the way to the tower and back to your phone to get the service. So obviously it takes long, and everyone else is trying to do the same thing. So if we have a tower, say, built here, it'll be quicker, and it would offload the capacity on that tower, so it could provide better service for, that the more immediate vicinity, and this one would cover more of this, so kind of offset each other, but you shouldn't see a decrease in call service versus data.
And we're not unlike Wolfboro, for instance, or Boltonboro, in that our population expands by
During
close to tenfold in the summer.
the summer, okay.
And then it drops back down. And I'm
Mhm.
sure all of those people who come from more civilized places are using their cell phone a lot.
Mhm. Yes, yeah.
I would hope that you're taking into account that
Mhm.
part of it, because we're not really limited to just the permanent residents.
Right.
As far as as far as using the phone's concerned, I guess.
That's-
So like when Mark was saying his phone didn't work very well this summer.
No, absolutely, yeah, yeah, the availability goes down, I think, as the number of users goes up.
Mhm. Right.
It's my understanding that the 5G technology effectively shortens the radius on a tower.
Yeah, so
So we need to put more towers more closer together in order to get coverage with 5G.
so yeah, 5G, it's coming out more like in the dense populated areas first. So we're like, say we're in, I guess, my office is in Arlington, Mass, in Boston, where it's very, it's becoming a big thing for 5G for dense population. But you're right, like it does shorten the radius, but these antennas would be 4G, which have, you know, longer radius, but yeah, I mean they would all provide the same.
So you're not
service.
looking at putting 5G in?
Not at the, I think we'll obviously go there in time, but right now, most of our configurations are, you know, 4G antennas right now, because 5G is still brand new, so we haven't implemented it everywhere, so it's, they're gonna be- but yeah, I mean,
Another reason why I don't have a cell phone.
There you go.
All right, Tim, anything else?
no, I just wanted to,
I have some questions.
yeah, I just wanted to come here to answer any questions.
My name is Lloyd Wood. I have a career in public safety, and my brother is on the 911 Commission.
Okay.
Cell phones in the last 10 years have saved lives for two reasons. First of all, don't have to be like I was in college. I'm driving through Milton 1 in the morning, and there's a bad car accident in front of me, and I go knock on his door, and he says, "I'm not letting you in."
Right.
What do I do? Plus, we now have GPS.
Mm.
The other thing is, we have a rescue on a mountain, something like this. 911 knows exactly where it is, so this guy can go into Canaan Valley and, you know, save an hour walking.
Right.
Plus, the dispatcher says, "Can you please text? It's 1/10 the energy." So I'm all in favor of it. I will tell you a war story. My friend is Clay Gallagher, who lives, and we sit on his porch when he has a cigarette, and if I see the tower and I try to get it, can't get it. And I can see it.
Mm.
And I'm told that it's because so many people are using data, it displaces the voice
Voice
contact.
communication.
And that's multiple people from your company have told me that.
Okay.
Please don't take it personal, it's not an attack. Are there any costs to the town?
No.
Now, the town also gets involved in cable TV with Spectrum,
Okay.
and we get a fee every year. If you can, is that how it works with Verizon?
No.
Or is
Verizon
it-
will.
Is it no cost to us and nothing
Oh,
for
you
the-
mean for Verizon, like?
and nothing for the Christmas fund?
No, I mean, there's nothing like that, but.
That's the Yankee in me, okay?
Okay, yeah,
They're gonna pay the rent.
yeah. We'll pay, you know, all everything like for, you know, whatever property tax that increases for Verizon. It'll.
It'd be similar to the telephone boxes that are beside the road that boost the signal. They have to go to zoning and,
Yeah.
you know, that's the parallel, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Well, it's a little more extensive than that, hopefully. We're gonna get a land lease out of these folks for the tower placement, so that's gonna create a revenue stream.
Right.
Mhm.
And a tower has to go through the planning or zoning board, or at least there's a process it goes through, right?
Yep.
Where are the nearest projects that you've worked on that are completed?
That are near here. None that I worked on near like the Duffnboro area, but I can find out through my company, through my other colleagues to see if there's any other towers that have been. But I know that obviously there hasn't been any in Duffnboro.
Any others in the state?
Oh, in the state, yes, there's been plenty, but I'm not exactly sure from like any surrounding towns. I can find that out for you though.
That would be great, thank
Yeah.
you very much. This is Lakes Region Planning Commission did a study with cell phones last year, correct?
That's right.
I'm not sure that it's been completed, but I know we went to a meeting about it, I remember that.
It's my understanding that there were 5 cell phone companies that were involved, right?
4 or 5, yeah.
And it's my understanding that Lakes Region Planning was not able to get some information from those 5 companies because it was proprietary information, right?
I'm not sure that the cell phone companies were involved. I think what it was is that the planning commission asked for phones to do a study of their own, and those weren't provided. And also ended up going to Washington in order to get maps that described the coverage, specifically the area Lakes Region Planning.
We were briefed on it at a TAC meeting almost a year ago. And Lakes Region Planning, if I'm quoting it right, and I'm going by memory here, is asked the 4 or 5 companies for additional information. And they collectively were told that's proprietary information.
And that could very well be true. I'm sure it is.
Sure.
I heard it over there.
My recollection is the same, that, yeah, the companies don't share their signal map information with anybody outside the company. They don't want to share it with their competitors, obviously. If they share it with a governmental agency, guess what happens?
Public information.
Everybody has it, so, and we did, with volunteers in town, do a drive around with the various different companies' phones and gather information. And more than once on some of them, we had some phone malfunctions and that sort of thing to deal with. And that's an ongoing project through LRPC.
And my understanding, or maybe it's true, hopefully it's true, is that they're gonna provide us with some sort of map, not unlike our pavement study, so that we can talk with authority with Tim Yee about what Tuftonborough's needs are vis-a-vis the
I know
cell phone
after the
service.
first go-round, drive arounds, we did get maps back from LRPC. You were part of the drive around.
Twice.
On that. And they were gonna be doing some additional refinement on it. I don't know where it is at this point.
We have no problem sharing any information we get with Mr. Yee.
Right?
All right.
Right.
Anything else?
I'm all set, thank you.
This is the second time I'm gonna apologize this morning. I'm not gonna do it again though, so I apologize for not
Nothing, you have
recognizing.
nothing to apologize for.
All right, thanks.
Great, thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
Good luck, my friend. Bye.
All right, next order of business in our epic meeting is gonna be Farm Pond Lane, Albert Green,
Yeah,
and
you better take care.
Randy Walker.
You too.
How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
How are you? I'm doing just fine. Thanks for letting me sit in. And I'm here today with Al Graymont, and who owns a subdivision with his wife, and the Kemps, who are homeowners in the subdivision. And we're here today to try to gauge your interest in supporting having the 2 subdivision roads taken over. They're just a dead end. Farm Pond Road goes in. I can circulate a copy of the plan that the planning board approved back in 2007. I gave you the shortened version. And you'll see in the upper left-hand corner, Union Wharf Road, just to orient you there. And then Farm Pond comes off of that, it dead ends, and then there's a spur road, Deer Path Lane that's shown on the plan. So it's not a through road by any means, it just dead ends into these. There were 23 lots plus 2 on Union Wharf Road. So the subdivision was originally approved for 25 lots. The road was built to town specifications. We could provide a report that would document that. We invite you to drive through the subdivision. It's road's in very, very good shape. The only thing that has not been done is the top coat was not put on while the construction process was going on. It's been bonded, and if the town felt for any reason that the bond was inadequate, we'd be willing to increase it to make sure that that was done. I know you've had issues on at least one other road like this in the past, and we do not want to be part of the problem, we want to be part of the solution. Um, Back in 1989, I worked on the Baxter Woods subdivision. I know the town has taken that over at some point in the past as well. So 8 of the lots have been sold. These lots are fairly high-end lots. They go for $125,000. There's 6 homes that have either been built or are being built. And so they would be paying a fair amount of taxes at that. And of course, they pay taxes on all the lots right now. So we are hopeful that the selectmen would be inclined to support taking this road over, either do it directly or go to town meeting in March and ask the voters whether they would be inclined to take the road over. But that's why we're here before we get into this project too far, like 15, 20 years out, and the longer you wait sometimes it becomes problematic.
I know Mr. Graymont's been in a couple of times.
He has.
The 2 issues that come to my mind, and the others might have others, are that I'm not familiar with any codicils to titles, et cetera, with the people that bought lots there, whether their understanding is it's going to be maintain a private road or it's going to be taken over by the town. So our suggestion at the time was put a petition together with the current property owners and bring it to us. The other part of the issue is the top coding. I've looked at the engineering report. I don't know if you guys have or not.
Yes.
And it seems everything's been done except for the top coat. I don't think he's going to top coat it between now and town meeting. So
Correct.
I almost think we'd have to go to some form of warrant article that's just going to authorize us to approve it when it is done.
Yep.
And again, they can do that next year, and happy to do, it's already been bonded, so it's guaranteed to be done, and everything they've done in there has been, top draw, which has been nice.
I mean, I don't think there's no, I didn't hear any resistance from the board.
No.
Is there no now?
No.
So I
I
know you've got to pay your rent, so it's nice to see you here, but you really didn't need to come.
It's okay, it was not my decision, my Al's decision in Wilma. I can answer your question on the covenants. Everyone was required to join an association, everyone contributes to road maintenance now. And unanimously, all the owners in there would be delighted to have the town take it over, and we just would do a deed transferring the road. There's no restrictions at all from having to go in. They weren't promised that it would be a private road at all. The Kemps, again, are one of the homeowners here, and they would be not only supportive of it, but the other homeowners there. And Al, as the owner of the remaining lots, also supportive of it. So if what you'd like us to do next is draft a petition, I'm happy to do that. Come back, present it. What I'm hearing is you're preferring to go down the town meeting road rather than have the selectmen themselves just take it over.
Yeah, I know that under the statute, we're allowed to do that. I don't know that the selectmen have ever actually done it that
In
way.
the past, it's been the other way.
Yeah, it's just,
With a petition warrant article.
yeah, either, and we can approve, obviously, if you create a petition or a warrant article,
Sure.
we can recommend it if it's recommendable.
Yeah, I believe that it is, and we would appreciate
They're rather boilerplate, right?
that recommendation if possible. It's funny, down south, in a lot of the towns on the Mass border, when the planning board approves it, a lot of times they almost automatically become town roads at that level. In the North Country, we have not done that,
There's my understanding, and I haven't looked into this extensively, is that we could ask the town to make the Board of Selectmen, give them the power to approve the acceptance of roads. And I don't think Tuftonborough's ever done that. So we've never gone to the step of saying, okay, from now on, the selectmen can approve it with the planning board. And the voters at town meeting don't have anything to say about it, but, which I think a lot of bigger places probably do it that way.
They do, and again, up here in the North Country and all of Carroll County, I think the towns are pretty consistent not having the planning board do it. But I'm happy to draft up a a petition. I will probably look at the Zadi Dow one and the Baxter Wood one just to see what
I know.
went there. Preferably the Baxter Wood ones.
Thank
and
you.
Yeah.
Others in Wolfboro. This does not have any of those problems, just the reverse.
Yes, fortunately it doesn't, yeah.
You know, we have a lot of clients in there as well, and intimately familiar with the problem.
And we have, you know,
Good
this
solution.
remedy, we can give a betterment assessment and all the rest of it. But it's, I'd rather go into the steel clean, so everybody's upfront about what the needs are.
So just on the top coat issue, we'd be happy to represent that the work will be done, you know, in next year, so that the road would be finished, as opposed to having the bond hang out there with the top coat not being done.
So what the warrant article would be, a conditional warrant article, that if the work is done,
So you want to remove the bond
the-
prior to the paving, is that what you're questioning?
No, we want the bond to stay out there for not only our protection and the Kemp's protection, but everyone's protection. My suggestion is that if it's important to the selectmen in particular, that the work be done first. We're happy to finish that last piece of the puzzle. If it's okay to let the bond ride a little bit for 2 or 3 years until more work is done, we're happy to do that as well. And the developer is very flexible either way.
Okay, I think I know what you're going, the planning board made it a condition, and I don't know that we can change that as a board.
We're
So,
not asking
yeah.
to change the condition, that is the condition. The
Right.
question is, would you
Yeah, we-
feel more comfortable if the work was just done next year and just finished?
And
Or,
then we go to the town?
no, we'd like to go to the town
This year?
in March, no matter
Yeah.
what. But, again, the goal is to get it approved,
Yeah.
either approved with the bond hanging out there or conditionally approved with the work then being done and having your road agent, whoever it is, sign on.
I guess my concern with, on the one hand, it makes sense to have more of the building activity done before you top coat, okay, which is typically why somebody, when they put it in development, doesn't put the top coat on right away. You got a lot of traffic in and out. So my concern with the town taking over maintenance responsibility for it before it's fully up to standard is then anything that happens between when the town takes it over and when the final coat is on becomes a town responsibility. So if it breaks down before that final top coat is on, then the town is doing the maintenance on it rather than once the road is finished, then it seems to me like it's a more clean transfer at that point.
To have the top coat done next year.
Right.
Okay. Then we
Before
will-
the town take, that was where I was coming down, is if the planning board puts a condition on there that it has to have a top coat, we're really tied up. We can't do anything about taking the road over until it satisfies the planning board
Yes,
conditions.
happy to do that, happy to just make it a condition that be done, and then, so a condition approval, presuming all goes well, they take it over, and then we finish the road, and then they take
Yeah.
it over with a sign. Okay, we'll draft the petition along those lines then.
Perfect.
All right, any questions for us?
I'm also.
I think so.
Jack, do you have anything?
Well, the third-party engineer will have to inspect it prior, after the top coat's done. So that'll
We
be-
have Bergeron, I think was the engineer for the town.
When somebody applies for building permit,
Right,
isn't there a condition in the building permit if they do any damage to the public road
correct,
that they are responsible for?
correct.
Yeah. And the other thing is that
And the chase is on.
there are cracks in the road, like there are in every road. I have already, I thought it was gonna get done this fall, but they're telling me now it's just too late. They're not gonna be able to do it, but that'll all be crack sealed in it. That's a $5,000 project, so, but it's gonna be done in the spring.
Well, I'll put that in again. Develop a crack seal to the town's specifications and approval. The top coat will go down to the town specification and approval, and then if the vote is favorable, it'll become a town road after H.E. Bergeron signs off on those two things.
It won't get plowed this winter, but next winter probably.
All righty, thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks for coming in.
See you again, my friend.
Very good, very good.
Thank you for coming in. Welcome to Tufton Borough.
Oh, go right ahead. Thank you.
Sure. They beat,
Just want to come over and say hi. I'm
they
Deb
beat
Cash.
the Chapman.
No, nice
So
to
much
meet you.
for a great meeting today.
Plus, I don't know, went to the
All
friendship.
set there, Mr. Graymont?
We're all set here.
They're playing.
Thank you very much.
Travel safe.
All right, moving on. As we have to do. The next item.
Yeah, not bad.
Not bad. Donations / cemetery expendable trust fund dash Susan Weeks. Actually, Sue Weeks. It was pretty casual. You're up next.
What?
This is the Charlotte, get a hold of you about how the selectmen want to talk about getting
Yeah,
the
so
approval for
it's your gig.
Oh,
Not my
you don't want
gig.
to talk about it?
Well, you got information.
Yeah, we got some
that
legal
you're
advice about the-
supposed to be giving to me,
Yeah,
so.
I put a little,
Here. Okay. Jesus. Pencils and notes. So you stay quiet. You don't need to say anything.
Calm
I
down,
gave you your
Sue.
chance, that's it. The board needs, this board,
We don't want to have this fun without.
and that's just moving closer.
Yeah.
This board needs to approve their the cemetery trustees fundraising efforts. And the trustees will pay for ad with their budget or develop a quote, Friends of the Cemetery. See, New Hampshire Municipal Association Trust.
this is all new to her, so she hasn't
Yeah.
heard this yet. So I
Oh,
need,
you
it
haven't heard
was legal
anything?
advice, so
No,
I
I
needed
don't know
to,
anything
yeah.
about
Okay.
anything. Just know you got an opinion.
I did get an opinion, or we did
It
get
should
an
be in
opinion.
that, what do you call it? Not Manila, but whatever it's called.
Vanilla,
Yeah, formerly Manila.
once known as vanilla. Okay, this is it, I believe, right?
You got it.
Okay. This is our advice from Natch Grays from the Municipal Association. He's their counsel, so he's an attorney. The warrant article appears to give the select board the implicit authority to accept private gifts, legacies, and devises that are offered as trusts throughout the year pursuant to RSA 3119. And I'm
Is
gonna
that the warrant article we already have?
Yes,
Yes.
that's the one
just
you
recapping.
authored several years ago. Right.
Essentially, how this fundraising process would work, I assume, is that the cemetery trustees would go to the select board, get their authorization to conduct a fundraising activity in the name of the town. Then, using their budget, would submit the advertisement for the fundraising activity. The select board would then accept the gifts, holding hearings for the amounts in excess of $10,000, and presumably, the purpose of the gifts would be for this tree trimming activity. I would say this is most analogous to how the Friends of the Library raise money, although in this case, it is the town, not an independent organization doing so. It may make sense to set up a Friends of the Cemeteries organization to conduct the fundraising, but it may not. If that does occur, the gifts could be bundled into one acceptance rather than as separate gifts from separate persons, but there may be an issue with using town funds for advertising purposes. We're not gonna use town fund, well, no, you are, you're gonna use your budget funds for that, but now if we get a Friends thing going, we may have to talk about how we're gonna fund the ads.
Well, you had mentioned one of my earlier meetings here that we should be looking into grants and funding and so forth, and I have been. They're not available unless you're a 501c3, which the town is not.
So the Friends could.
So the Friends could become a 501c3, I suppose.
Yeah,
So that's how, I mean, because there are grants that we meet all the criteria that they want, except we're a rich town, you know,
Right.
close quote. So that could be a viable thing to do.
that would have to be separate and apart from the town.
Yes,
So that would have to be organized outside of us. And then, that probably would preclude you from taking money out of the cemetery budget to pay for ads for a friend's
Right.
campaign.
Right.
So that's something to think about.
But I mean, I sent off an email to the Historical Society to see if they
Which
wanted to.
might be, I mean, you look at some existing nonprofits in town, might be somebody good to do this sort of thing.
It'd be a lot
Apply
easier
for
to
the
try to
grants
get-
to start from scratch.
Right.
You're probably gonna wait 2 or 3 years to get an approval from the IRS.
Right, because we, a few years ago, had a field day out here in the cemetery where we had invited the public and Historical Society members to come and learn how to clean stones and spend, what did we spend, 3 or 4 hours
Yep,
with an instructor, a supervisor cleaning stones, and they could apply, the Historical Society could apply for a grant to do that again,
mhm.
which I pitched to the president, and she immediately called me and said, "Oh, that's great, we need money for our kitchen repair in New Zealand." And she applied for that. So, but anyway, that's something that I have put out there that we haven't resolved yet, whether we
I
could
mean,
do
that would be
that.
the simplest way to do it, is to enlist a current 501c3.
Right.
And then you do all the work,
Right.
they get the money grant, and then they give it to the cemetery trustees and we
Yeah.
accept it. And that would be the simplest
Yeah.
way to do it. Then you could actually use,
Well, they could pay it direct, then you wouldn't have to have the
Excuse me.
public hearings.
Well, you still have to have the public hearing, but we can accept it as a gift, okay? If it's similar to what we did with the parking lot that the Taunton Borough Association built up for the Great Meadow, okay? It's an improvement to town property, but accepting a gift that's been made is a simple and straightforward way to do it.
yeah, we didn't have a lot of protesters here.
Right, right. Well, and again, I think the idea I have with the idea of accepting gifts at a governing body meeting or having a public hearing if it's over a certain amount gives the public an opportunity to be involved in the process, and the watchdog can make sure that we're not obligating the town to any future financial obligation
Right.
as a result of somebody doing whatever it is.
And we can leave it up to Sue to do some public shaming for all those people who haven't given any money.
Right.
Yeah, I'm so good at that.
But I do agree with you that using an existing nonprofit to get a grant is great. It may make sense on a parallel track to look at creating, Friends of the Cemeteries. Wouldn't initially, it's gonna take a while to go through the whole process,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah, and then it's
Yeah.
another committee, and, it's-
Well, and
yeah.
and
we end up
it's,
with the same core groups of people.
Oh,
and
sure.
it's
It's
Sure, we
annual.
wear a bunch of hats and we go around to different meetings,
the
yeah.
annual filing requirements and all the rest of that is no longer something Karen's gonna do for you. It's something that
The volunteer
501
is doing.
501c3 has to do, the
Right.
bank reconciliation and all that other crazy stuff.
So
So we're-
if we knew somebody in the Historical Society, we could lobby them to.
We could. So
Yeah.
we're all set to approve gifts, or grants. So
Okay,
if you get one, or if something pans out in your money-raising opportunities. more than
I know, well, you have had some,
yes.
last
We
year
have
and year
we have
before.
a fund for private,
Right,
and if it's over a certain amount, you still have to have a public hearing.
exactly.
Is it 10,000?
10,000 is the threshold there.
Are we also waiting for something about the warrant article for any remaining funds being held over?
No,
No.
I didn't ask about that.
I thought we had notification.
Regarding budget funds to be put, is that what you're speaking
Oh,
of? I wasn't asked to request
So,
that.
so,
No,
we can encumber funds for specific projects.
Right, if I
like
have
that.
a contract.
But there isn't, I'm not aware of any provision in the law that allows us to just roll budget money over.
I think if you were gonna get into a gray area, you could say if it was out for bid purposes, we'd probably still encumber it.
I would assume that at a minimum, it would require a vote at town meeting authorizing that money be held over, but I'm not sure that it's legal for, I know it's legal for conservation commissions, right?
They're a special case.
Excuse me, I think I did
Parks and
obtain,
Rec.
I think we did obtain an opinion on that, and I forgot.
So,
Because I
anyway,
mentioned, I remember the conservation thing, and this is bringing back.
we talked before about having an expendable trust fund that the town budgets into. That doesn't sunset, so that's money that at the end of the year doesn't work. It just stays there until you spend it, and then you put some more in the next year.
I think it's
That, to me, I think is the most straightforward way to make sure that the funds that we allocate to doing cemetery restoration work on the old cemeteries is,
Right,
doesn't go away.
right.
And then you don't end up at the end of the year with we gotta find this, get this guy over here, and here's how much it is, and now we can encumber funds for it, and
I don't see a problem with, rather than asking at town meeting if you can have the same money that you had left over. Let's play it straight. If you don't spend the money, it goes away. And we'll just create another warrant article specific for 2020. I mean, I don't think we're gonna get any resistance for creating one.
you're talking about creating an expendable trust fund and putting money into it.
That's one way to do it.
Yeah, well, that's one.
We have an expendable trust fund.
That's for private money, though,
No,
right?
we have two.
Okay,
We have
Yeah.
one for public, and the
And-
one for the public money, I don't know, what is it?
so
We have one for
it's,
perpetual care money. That's what
Right.
it is, so
That's
that's
different.
different.
right. So,
But it is, it
So
is,
you're looking at a non-lapsing warrant article that just creates funds for this tree business.
I'm looking at establishing an expendable fund
Yeah.
Oh,
that-
we did have that.
the town meeting votes money into,
Yeah.
and that money, just like a capital reserve fund, the money is in there, and then can be expended for the identified purpose.
yeah, see, people might like that because
Okay.
they would get a report of what
Right.
work you're
Exactly.
going to do and
Exactly.
what you've
Under
done.
RSA 289:2/A, the town meeting could vote to establish an expendable trust fund under RSA 31:19/A and deposit into that fund all money received from the sale of cemetery lots. That's one.
Oh,
You
we
already
do
have
have
that.
that.
And
We
you have that.
Right.
Okay, so we already have that. So we gotta find some other,
And that is really that cemetery. It's not really the others.
That's town cemetery.
that's the only one you're selling.
We're
lots.
looking,
Yeah.
we're talking about doing,
All of them.
yeah, on the
The
historic
small-
cemeteries that now the town is a partner in, that we didn't used to be a partner in, to,
We always were, we just didn't, it just wasn't formalized.
right. Well, we always did maintenance, but we were never a partner until we declared abandonment, right? Am
Yeah,
I right?
So
I guess.
Are you proposing that we create this expendable trust fund in 2020's warrant?
On the warrant in 2020, right,
Okay.
and fund it with whatever money we anticipate spending in 2020 to do these, taking trees and building walls and that sort of thing in these cemeteries. And then next year, we'll do the same thing and put money in. But if you put $10,000, $15,000 in and you spend $12,000, you don't have to reappropriate that money. It's there, and you just add to it the next year.
So we'll-
So you have timing flexibility because it's a dedicated fund. And then we're not sitting here the week of November 25th, and Sue's going, I gotta pull these projects together so we can get these monies, so we don't lose them this year,
Right.
which is what we all go through every year.
Right now.
Right, exactly, exactly. So that's the benefit to having an expendable trust fund.
Exactly.
Town meeting votes that money, and and the only way it goes, two ways it goes out of that fund. One is that it's expended for the purpose of the fund. The second way is that town meeting dissolves it at some point in the future, and then it goes back into the general fund.
All right, I'm gonna
Move us along.
move
Thank
this
you.
along.
Yeah, this is
And what I'm
fun.
gonna do, I know it's fun for you, what I'm gonna do is, seeing how I did the health insurance, and I'm gonna let Brother Parkinson research this and
Sure.
we'll look for the plan.
All right,
Great.
Okay.
yes.
Any other
And
issues
you're
while
gonna
you're in front
send
of me?
me copies of that
Yeah.
opinion that you got.
Yeah, this one here.
Yep.
Can you just, I don't know if you need to, but can you do a motion just for the heck of it, that you released it? I'm not,
Oh,
with legal
because
opinions,
it's-
I think we
Oh.
have to do a motion.
Okay.
But I'm not 100%, but might as well cover, right?
All right, I'll make a motion that we share the legal opinion from the municipal association with our cemetery trustees.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
And you're well aware of the penalties for leaking?
No.
All right, we'll approve those with the copy.
If you're gonna take a lead, clean up afterwards.
Oh, that's really bad.
All right,
Thank you.
next on the agenda is our police chief. Is he gonna be able to come in?
He's
Was there a
with
second ago? Hang on.
Okay. Tim Reed.
Well, if you're not busy, I do have one thing to report, that we did get the branch that had fallen on the Fields Jones Cemetery has been taken care of. We had Guy Pike got in touch with Gary Brooks, got him over there. His boys, they climb trees to do this work,
Yeah.
and use ropes and
No
pulleys.
bucket trucks. just
I,
palm trees.
actually, I got a name of a guy that's a climber, takes trees down by climbing them. But I don't have his phone number here. I'll pass it along to you. He does great work. And the benefit to somebody that's a climber is, as you know, with some of these things that are way back in there, to try and mobilize equipment in to get it out
Right.
is
On his way.
almost
Right.
impossible.
Exactly, so, but Mark Eldridge, our maintenance guy out here, is meeting with Gary and taking him around to some of the most problematic cemeteries. I mean, some that you can't get equipment to.
Yeah, it'd be nice
See
to
what
have
he
a
can
number
do,
to go
because
forward
we
with.
may be able to contract with him in the next few weeks.
At least get a number, so we can go to
Right.
town meeting with something.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Thank you.
Chief Shigori. Tell you, there are a lot of stupid people in the world.
Is what?
A lot of stupid people in the world.
Yes,
But
sir.
I want your written recommendation that the state highway department install a flashing red and flashing yellow light at the junction of 171 and Litch Hill and Bergen Road.
We'll do that. I'm
Thanks.
all in favor of that. I think we
I
should put a
just-
roundabout there. so
I
think-
came through there this morning. I was coming to a stop,
Yeah.
coming back home, and a Cadillac SUV just rolled on through at 40 miles an hour. I mean, really? I think we could use a few less stupid people like that, so maybe it would have been good to get an accident, but
But not with you.
I didn't want to get involved. All right, we're here to do the budget, or something like it. What did we change?
Well, I fixed the salary thing that Lloyd pointed out. And I took out part of the office equipment.
So your office equipment now is, office supplies down, is it 13.9?
Yep.
Okay. Do we
Um,
want,
What?
do we want to go line by line? What would you like to do? Which pleasure?
Whatever you want.
No, I'm cool, we can go line by line. Unless there are specific areas you just said we want to spend your ammunition.
Yes.
All right. And then I'll give Selectman Wood the floor. Okay.
In the last year, I kept track of the following information, and I want to go over it with him. This has to do with overtime on page 5. The first thing is I went through and got the average wage for your officers, rounded it off to $30, and time and a half would be $45, right?
Yeah,
Okay? Overtime, this is an average of 3 call-outs a week at 3 hours of overtime, times 45, times 52 weeks is $21,060. Is my math correct?
I say yeah, doing it, but I believe
Is
it.
the 3 call-outs,
3 call-outs a week,
yeah,
times 3 hours
okay,
minimum.
and is that, where, did you establish that was what our average
Yes,
is?
it's actually a little low.
Okay.
Times over, the average overtime is $45, times 52 weeks is $21,060. The next I did is on call, and that figure there matches what you put in. It's 4 hours before the shift. It's 8 hours, right?
It's 8 hours a day.
A week, yes. And that's $11,680. Then please go to the last, extended shift overtime. It's about 3 hours a week. Again, I rounded it off, that your officer is processing a DWI at the hospital, IEH. There's an active investigation going on. That's $7,020. Okay, so far?
Yep.
The next thing I did is I took vacation, personal days, sick days, training, and covering for Tom. In vacation, there's 70 hours that your staff is entitled to, and it's as they mature. If you're on vacation, someone has to work your shift, right?
Yep.
And that's 70 hours.
Excuse me.
Sick, okay, so far?
Hold, slow down just a second.
I'm on vacation, personal days, etc.
About a third of the way down the page.
Okay, we're in the,
I think he's
is
trying to
that
make
the
it to a
holiday
point.
pay?
He's on a different, kind of making a point.
No,
Okay,
no, I didn't, holiday pay, he put someplace else.
where is this gonna fit into the budget?
This is overtime.
Okay, all right, I just need to know where I'm going
Yep.
with it, okay?
Vacation, as your department matures, they move up from 2 weeks to 3 weeks and 3 weeks to 4 weeks. And when you are on vacation, or any officer, they have to be replaced, right?
Not always. I sometimes fill in shifts, or if I take a day off, it's not as, I fill in shifts too to help offset some of that cost.
Well, what I did is, without.
And that's why I was trying to, I know where you're I think I know where you're going with this, the track you're going down with this train, but I just want to say, sometimes I help by filling in and do some of that, so.
Well, I would be willing to change that to 60 hours or 50 hours or whatever. So the next thing is I went through, and we have people who are sick, and that's 160 hours a year that we have to fill in for them, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Everyone has 2 personal days that they're entitled to, and we absolutely have to budget for that, right? That's 64 hours.
Yep.
Then there's training of 4 people, and I went with a minimum of 10 hours a year. That's 40 hours of training. And when a person is out of town training, we have to replace them on patrol, correct?
Yep.
And Tom, in the last 12 months, has taken 100 hours a week.
Okay,
Yeah.
can't do that.
Shouldn't be using names.
Yeah, don't do that.
There are individuals who are entitled emergency leave,
There you go. Sorry.
and that was, I rounded it off to 100 hours. And if they're not able to work, we have to replace them, right?
Yep.
Okay, I came up with those topics, 370 hours equals 16,650. Now, Is that negotiable? Should it change, or what is practical, or? I'll go by your math.
So,
Well,
okay.
first off, like the vacation, I think you're low on the numbers because like the minimum person gets, just starting out, ends up with 40 hours. So, I mean, it's more than that. And as I said, so as far as scheduling, like I said, if we know somebody's gonna be out, or somebody calls in sick, a lot of times I will fill that to jockey that around so we don't end up with overtime. Same thing with call out. Sometimes people get a call out, they'll adjust their hours and I might stay late to fill in for it to offset some of that overtime. As far as a person that might need to take time off, we have pretty much arranged the schedule in such a way that's convenient for not just him, but another person that needs to have a regular pattern of days that they need to make appointments, if you will, put it that way. So, yes, there's still things come up. Yes, obviously you can't judge when somebody's gonna get sick. I mean, that just happens. But we're, I think the numbers there. Training is actually more time because you have to have 8 hours of. You have to have 8 hours of continuing ed plus 4 hours of use of force, and that's not range time. So it's actually we're probably closer to 24 hours minimal for each person each year. But
Well, can I go
that's
down?
minimal. But
When you go down through on vacation each year, we need to budget how many hours to replace people on vacation?
Well, can I just interject?
Yep.
Okay, I just did a quick summary of your numbers, and I'm taking that it's your position that we should increase some of these numbers to reflect the actual time involved. But if you look at how your math worked out and the chief was in agreement, that's $37,126 that needs to go back into the budget, which is half the cost of another officer.
That's where I was.
thought that was where you're heading.
I mean, I'm not sure we're prepared to not accept the chief's explanation that he gets people to cover, or he covers. We should get some work out of him at some point in time.
All right. First of all, I took these records from the timesheets in the last year.
Yeah, no, I'm sure they're correct.
Number two is I go
I
by,
don't think we've had 21. Obviously, we haven't had 21,000 in overtime because my budget's for overtime's only been 12,000. So
yes. The other thing is I go by these sheets here, for example. Let's take July. 31 days in July, we average 2 hours of patrol a day. There were 6 days there was no patrol whatsoever. The first week of July, this includes July 4th, there were 20 hours of patrol. This is not a criticism because it was a unique year for 3 different reasons. I want to support my police department, and if we're going to have police services, we need to give this guy the resources.
I would, and I'm sorry, Bill, did you have something?
Well, I think this is it's a good conversation to have.
Yes.
And I'm listening to the chief, and I'm listening to you, and I'm looking at what we've spent and what the chief is asking for in 2020. And what comes through to me is that he's getting a lot out of his resources. And that all of the things that are in here that are things that pull people out of regular work here on assigned shifts is getting covered at about 30% of the 35% of the cost of doing it all on overtime. Part of it is additional fill-in that the chief does, and Bottom line to me is we want to make sure that we have good and effective coverage in town. And I feel that it's important to be careful with our dollars. And we need to listen to the chief when he says this is what he needs to get the job done.
Part of also how we covered it too, to save on some of that overtime or for filling for vacations and stuff, is we did during night shift put the state police or county on call, night shift from 3 to 11. Midnights when they go in, we were taking the calls at that point, but if they have somebody out, they were covering some of those shifts. So that's also how we saved on some of that, was just not filling a shift sometimes when we didn't have enough people to fill it, so. But to the hours, I mean, that was part of my, obviously, that's part of why I looked at, you know, given what I think we've been asked to do, if you will, in order to do all those things, that's why I mentioned perhaps we should look at adding officers or officer time, because, you know, realistically, in the summertime when we had 2 hours of patrol and stuff, that 2 hours was pretty much spent driving Lang Pond, Brown Road, the beaches, you know, the places we had been asked to check every shift.
Directed patrol.
The directed patrols, they were not going outside of that other areas unless we were going to a call, something else. So we were not, while it seemed like we had 2 hours, from my perspective, I don't think we really gave 2 hours of patrol. That was just, you know, you cover all those things, you're spending about an hour driving to all those spots. Presumably, you don't have a call in between that diverts you off that path and that route.
You're right.
But that's partly how we didn't do all the overtime, and we're saving money too, is because they covered on times when we had people on vacation and we had nobody that could fill it. But it's.
I mean, if you take Lloyd's survey, it's 995 hours, call it 1,000 hours, that is used up in other things other than police work. That's a half an officer. You haven't gotten to a full officer yet. That's, if you divide it by the 3 officers that we currently have, not counting the chief, it's 300 hours of their 2,000 hours. So it's what? 10%, 15%.
Yeah.
So 15% of their current time is made up with covering for somebody else's vacation or overtime or extended shift. So I think, and we haven't accounted for the chief's time, so it's less than that. I think we're moving in the direction where if we want to have more coverage or more complete coverage, we're going to need to add an officer, because it just, there aren't.
There's a limit to how many hours we have to
Yeah,
fill.
we can't work in 24 hours a day.
You're almost
And I
ready.
think this exercise is a great tool to show to the budget committee, because I don't think they think of adding a police officer as just Chief Shigori wanting to put a feather in his cap, when in actual fact, you're losing 15% of your current staff's time covering for things that they don't need to cover for. And maybe that would make the difference in the traffic patrols.
I don't know, there's things we don't need to cover for, but a percentage of our time is not.
It's not available.
Not
to
available for patrol.
Right,
Right,
right.
it's not available for active police work.
The
So,
last week I basically had none. I mean, Thursday I was at a meeting, an investigation of a sexual assault, which I haven't done the report yet. It's unfounded, fortunately, but I still had to spend the time to go through with it. Friday I ended up going home sick, because after I came in the morning and I had to go to another
you
meeting.
had your flu shot?
I did have my flu shot. It's not the flu.
Twice sick.
So anyway, it's just been, I mean, that's
Yeah,
Well, going back to the question at hand, you had agreed with Lloyd that the overtime number was different. Do we want to change it? $1,796 off is what it is. So do we want to increase the overtime number to $21,060?
You're asking me?
I'm asking everybody here
Sorry.
except for me. What's your feeling?
I defer to the chief on this.
Okay.
So, chief,
I think 19,264 I put in, well, I appreciate the extra money. I think that's gonna be, you never know. I mean, a couple weeks ago, we almost ended up with over 48 hours camping on somebody at the hospital because they had a warrant out of state. And
yeah,
it was a question of who's responsible for guarding them at the hospital.
I have a question. When was the last time Tufton Borough authorized additional hours, patrol hours for the department? It's been 10 years, right?
It's been a little, I mean, as far as like, say, extra time?
Right.
It's been a while.
Okay, before you make a decision or answer, there was 3 or 4 things in there that the selectmen made clear they wanted dedicated coverage to. Where is that in your budget?
That's what I added, that's why I brought it up to the 19,264. I took some of those items and put it in there.
Some of those items?
Yep, I did not put in for the stickers at the transfer station. I didn't put in for that time. Because I don't know that that was ever decided that was I personally don't think that's a good use of our time, but that's, I mean,
So-
that was like $1,200. So that, I did everything else, although I don't know, again, I can't get into names, but I don't know that I can come up with enough people for Tuesdays for elections, because somebody usually has a conflict on Tuesdays. That's why we've jockeyed the schedule. The schedule kind of works the way it is, so we have a couple people that need this time off and that time off for their regular events that they have to do, if you will, so I don't know that I have 4 people on Tuesdays, even though, because it would take 4 people to cover the polls like that.
Well, keep working on it.
But-
We're not paying Walmart salaries.
I don't disagree, but I mean, there's only one day that they can get this certain thing done.
And does it affect, I guess we could have a closed door meeting about what this certain thing is,
Yeah.
but we need coverage at the polls. Would the chief enacting a, whatever that was you called about extra hours and an increase in the overtime, would that change anything here? I mean, I don't wanna have, I don't know where you are today. Do we have this current budget? No.
You should have it.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I do, hold on.
It's up 5% from last year.
So right now you got $7,000 worth of, there you go. You have $3,000 worth of overtime
Left.
Right. My expectation would be that at the end of the year you wouldn't have any. But I know you're gonna have some,
There'll be some there.
yeah. So we're not adequately using up the overtime to cover these times when we don't have anybody out on the street. So you're right, we shouldn't increase the overtime line if you're not gonna use it, that's for sure.
Well, I also, I mean, it's, overtime is one of those things that's hard to judge sometimes. Like I said, a couple weeks ago, we almost had to do 48 hours straight.
Right, but what, we're not talking about, I think what Lloyd had brought up, we're not talking about, okay, now the sheriff's department or the AG's office needs us for a longer shift, it's part of that. We're talking about, okay, you've worked your 8 hours, put in another hour and a half out there on the street patrolling, if you'd like, because you can't demand overtime. But enable
Actually,
our.
I can in some cases, but.
Well, in some cases you can, but enable the officers to use up more of that overtime account. You're pushing it by $4,000.
Yeah. And
And I
my-
don't want
my-
you to come back here next year when I'm not here and explain to the other selectmen that they were told they had that overtime money there.
It's one of those things, though, I never know, you know, if I ever made, if I were sitting there going, okay, I'm gonna spend, if I were to say, okay, I've got $200 of overtime every week that can be spent, so, Tuesday night, work an extra 3 hours to help spend that off. But then I have, you know what I'm saying, it's,
Yeah, but I don't want you talking out of both sides though. Because on one point, you're saying, you know, I don't want to do it that way. But on the other side, you're saying I don't have people for the elections. I don't want that. We need election coverage. We need coverage at the concerts. We need these things to happen. And you've got the money in your budget to do it. Now how are we going to make it happen? All we can give you is money. The rest of it's up to you.
well, I also need people to spend the money too.
Well, right, that's the other piece. And we can't fix that. But as I look at historically in overtime, over the past 5 years, right? We've spent 13,000 to a little over 15,000 in a range annually, okay? And you're on track to be in that range this year. What I hear you saying is that the 19.2 for next year covers all of those things that you've done in the past, as well as some additional things that we've tasked the police department with providing us with coverage on. You're gonna have to be creative in terms of, you know, how we can get a body to do some of this stuff, but it seems to me that there's probably adequate money there. Throwing more money at it is not gonna address the issue.
Well, that was my
Right.
point last week when I said that, like, you know, there are details in other towns and places,
Right,
they don't have people to fill them. I mean, that's
right,
the reality we could be faced at, is you could throw more money at it, but I don't have people that can fill it.
okay, but you have the money resources to pay for it, so, in the budget, so, you know, and maybe we need to have a closer meeting talking about some of these ideas that, you're the subject matter expert in my book in terms of this kind of stuff.
Well, that's why I'd asked about, I mean, to do all these things, I really need more body time, more people time. Not just people time, but I need people to do the time. There's a limit to what we can do.
Right.
No, there's absolutely time limits. We're not in disagreement with that. We are maybe in disagreement with an absolute, no, gosh.
So when we look at, let's
It's tough to say without what, I can't.
Programmatically, we look at the things we'd like to do in 2020, and you add all this stuff up, and it takes 4.3 people, let's say, to do it, and we have 4 people now. So the question is, how do you cover that third of a person? And one way you do it is you hire a whole person, and then you say, now we have 2/3 of a person that's free beyond that. Ideally, and we've talked about this, adding a part-time person or part-time resources allows you to get the additional hours without the full increment. I mean, the fact of the matter is, in full-time people, you can't do half a full-time person.
Right.
Some challenges with doing part-time in your world that are different from somebody on an assembly line, I need to hire a laborer, or, you know, I need to hire somebody that has a particular set of skills in the industrial, different. I understand that. Part of it's training, certification, all these kinds of things. But how we bridge from where we are now to a point where a whole nother officer is part of the force is a challenge.
So my thought, and if we added another officer, would be to expand and go 4 10-hour days instead of 5 8-hour days. What does that mean? There's less hours that aren't covered.
That's an excellent idea.
And
Well,
that
it's-
also means that you end up with one or two, you end up with more days with 2 people off that they could fill in, and they have 3 days off, they're not only having 1 day off if they come in and
Correct.
fill in something.
And I
That's
think, I mean, I'm not gonna micromanage your department, but I think a review of your policies might be in order. If you, let's say, went to a 4 10-hour day, which Microsoft's found has increased productivity enormously. Those 2 days, or the 3 days that the people are off, we need some on-call. I mean, I am not at all a friend of, okay, I've done my 40 hours, I'm done, when it comes to police. I'm
Mhm.
just not in favor of that at all. If you've got a desperate need for an officer, that officer needs to respond. I'm not saying you bring him in for 3 straight days, but it seems as that you're the only industry in the world that allows employees the ability to say, no, there's no way in the world I'm coming in, or you're not calling me.
I'm not saying that at all, I just know that no, we call people in, people come in, I mean, they respond, I mean, it's not,
We have a responsible staff.
yeah.
They're excellent.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying negative things, I'm just saying, if you have a policy in place that says, okay, you're on call, okay, maybe 1 week out of the month, if you got 4 officers, everybody gets a week, or a weekend, or whatever that time off
That's what the
is.
fire department does.
Yeah.
Every weekend, there's one
Yeah.
officer who takes call.
I mean, I just think there are areas that need to be looked at. I think this whole discussion, though, needs to come before the budget committee at some point, maybe not this fall, but definitely by the spring. Because there are members of that budget committee that have no idea what a 4th officer means, as far as what kind of coverage we're doing. Your coverage numbers for patrolling time, they don't have any idea that that's going on. And they're gonna blame the chief for no patrols on the 2nd of July, when in fact, it's the limitations on his ability to have manpower enough to do it. And I think the whole idea of having and we're up to a half an officer currently. It wouldn't take much to push us over that
Well,
full
and
officer.
the other part of going to a longer shift, that's less time that would be spent on call time, if you will, because, and it's more time that somebody's gonna be on, so there'll be less call-out time being spent. Because somebody's gonna be on, they're not gonna have to come out from their house, and there'll be a
Right.
quicker response, A, and B, we won't necessarily be paying overtime for them to come out
Right,
to an accident, say.
Right.
right.
That was my thought process as to if we were to add an officer, what it would do for us. It would give us more hours covered, it would give us more days off, and that meant that, you know, if I took a day off, if I needed to come in for something, I'm not losing half my time off, I'm only losing maybe a third if I cover part of a shift, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's not as big a hardship.
Or you do comp time for
Yeah,
losses.
and
But it-
we've been very flexible, and that's, I think.
Then maybe an exercise that you could do sometime in your spare time when you're not doing anything, is to figure out what let's take the premise that there's gonna be a 4th officer at some point. How does that reduce the on-call dollars? How does that reduce the overtime dollars? And then balance it out with how that increases your vacation dollars. I mean, you might find that it starts to balance itself out with that 1,000 hours that you're currently losing, or 904.
Probably for the call-out part alone and on-call, it's probably about half would go away,
Yeah,
which would be in that
so there's
person's.
$5,000, you get $56,000 that you're spending on an officer, right?
Mhm.
And I'm up to,
It probably about $10,000 easy right there between call-outs and
Yeah.
on-call time.
I mean, I did do an exhaustive thing, I'm trying to listen and do math at the same time. But your half an officer is costing you, what, $28,000? So if you pick up another 5 out of the on-call time, and now you're 30 plus thousand. I mean, you're really starting to creep up towards that $50,000 number, which is your starting salary for a new officer. And I think that, looking at that would really be informative for not just us, but for the people
Hey,
that.
the other part that's important to consider too, as we're looking at this, is that even if you were to say, great, 2020, you can hire another officer, that would be June most likely before someone would actually be sworn in, then the training, you're talking 2021 probably before that person's.
Just
on
like
their
we
own.
did with Abby.
Right.
It just
Right.
It's a
Takes you 9
process.
months to get them in the door. So your initial expense isn't that great, but I mean, the Barry Ennis's of the world and the Guy Pikes of the world are gonna say, well, the first year doesn't count. What's it actually gonna cost going forward for that whole year when they're gonna get paid full salary?
Well, I guess my point is though, going forward that first year, you may have added somebody, but you didn't add any time. You're not gonna see these benefits for
Oh,
that
yeah,
year.
yeah.
Right.
I see where you're going.
Right,
That's where I was going at. You hire somebody, you're not gonna see this benefit until
until they're actually back.
So they're actually,
Yeah.
and actually there's some cost to it because you have to do the background and some time, you have to do FTO training and training with them that actually steals a little bit of time, but in the end, it's like about a year before you get that time back.
Chief, do you agree that we need to add another officer?
That's what my original proposal was,
And
when I
I
first proposed the budget.
I support it 100%, sir.
But
Yeah, I mean-
I carved it out because that's what I was asked to do, so. And that is still going up 5% just
Cover the costs.
Mhm.
to go where we're going.
I mean, I can see it staying in the 400s, even with another officer, by just making the budget work a little better. So,
Well, I did,
and then you had cars and all the other stuff you gotta have for a police officer. You could use segways. Just a thought.
We used to.
For horses.
We did.
Yeah.
Dale Higgler gave us one. That you-
All right, if I could, Karen, is there a budget here at meeting tomorrow?
this there is.
Yeah, he was gonna go tomorrow, but
Well,
it
do you wanna
doesn't sound
vote on
like
this?
you.
I'm prepared to vote on it.
Okay,
I'll move the budget, 4210, for the department head recommended amount of 436,643.
I'll second. Any discussion?
I'm not gonna vote for it.
Okay, tell us why, just, we're gonna vote for it.
This poor guy is strapped.
Yeah.
Our town is suffering. I mean, in some months, no patrol whatsoever. That means you're not finding cars that are off the road. You're not finding the tree that came down at Tuftonboro Corner yesterday. You're not stopping the drunks and the speeders and the cars that are coming up over Durgan Road at 67 miles an hour. We need to start the process now. He hires excellent officers. Abby is a perfect example. The other thing is, the pet elephant in the room is, and we need to talk in private, the 100 hours that are needed by somebody is only going to increase.
Okay, I appreciate your position. The chief has asked us for a particular number. I can't get in the business of running this department. I can't.
I think to be fair, that you're gonna see those numbers go up because that was when Abby was in the academy, Officer Gillis was in the academy, so during the summer. So we will have
You were one officer short through that whole period.
through the summer. So I expect those percentages to go up this summer.
Right.
That will help a lot. But it's not gonna get it to where I think some people hope it would be, but
Right.
it'll be up.
And my view is that's a great conversation for us to have outside of the budget process now. In the near future, in terms of goals, okay, so we have X number of hours of patrol a day. Where should we be on patrol, and how do those numbers all kind of backfill?
I mean, let's not forget that politically, we hopefully, if we ever see him again, we're gonna be asking for a police department, a building
Right,
this year. I mean, I think if we ask for a building, a car, and an officer in 1 year, I doubt we'd get them all And if we did get them all, I don't think we'd have a very nice year on our hands. Anyway, we've got a motion and a second. Did you have something to say, Chief?
No, I just wanted, the hard part with adding somebody though is our facility. That's gonna be shoehorning somebody else in is gonna be a nightmare
Yeah.
at this point. So that's where it's kind of like, yes, it would help us, yes, it would help meet all these goals in trying to get more visibility, but we will meet that to some degree because we now have somebody back from the academy.
If we could do, and I'm gonna call a vote here in a second, but if we could do a spreadsheet showing what we can manage with what we have, it will make getting another officer a lot easier.
And to go with that the time we're strapped is really the summer. This isn't as bad this time of year. But the summer times but the problem is you can't just necessarily find people to come in
Right.
to do it. But
God forbid we lose one.
well,
All right,
we do have 2 people that are eligible to retire anytime.
Yeah, well, I'm waiting to see your letter of retirement. So we've had a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the police budget for 2020?
Aye.
Aye. All those against?
No.
All right.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Chief. Items for signature. We have another letter. This letter is to Scott Brooks of TDS. Subject is requesting for information on broadband coverage in Tuftonboro, New Hampshire. And this is pursuant to the Senate Bill 170, wherein we can request the providers to give us a list of those people who are within the service area but have no service.
I'll move approval.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Um, We've got a warrant article for land use change on 2 lots in Melvin Village. I don't know if I want to make any editorial comments, but how these 2 lots got into current use. They're across 109 from the parent property, and they've been house lots forever, but there they sat in current use, and now they've been sold. So now we want to put a current change of use tax on this. It's for lot number 2, tax map 2, lot 25, and lot 26.
I'll move approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And, we've got a appointment for the planning board. The planning board requests the appointment of Carol Bush as an alternate to the planning board for the term of 3 years.
Yep.
All right, I'll second.
Second. Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And the other person withdrew their,
I got,
He
oh,
did.
they did.
yeah, he changed it, he's thinking about it.
Huh?
He withdrew his appointment at this time, so.
So,
Wait, thinking about it, I guess.
all right.
So,
This is the equalization municipal assessment data certificate for Tuftonboro. Done by Rob Wood.
Excuse me.
And it's going to require a signature, but it is a list of the properties and the changes in the tax assessment.
I'll move approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That was 11:25.
Yeah.
Chip, there's another signature needed by you. Right here.
Oh, in the back, right. I'm sorry. No problem. Peter Slutsky stopped by today, dropped off a check for the library capital reserve fund of $77,447.44. The investment company kept a few $100 to cover administration fees. We can resolve this by
Signing an authorization to withdraw, right?
right.
Okay.
So this only requires one
All
signature.
right. Move that we authorize the chairman to sign that.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This is our annual service agreement with GIS Internet Services for the tax map. AGI, Access GIS will publish the client's GIS data to the internet. They will support the email, etc. And CAI will respond to alerts concerning poor performance or lack of performance on this site. We want to keep doing business with Timothy Fountain. What's that?
Is this the
This is,
Company
Yeah, the
you
name
work
just
with?
threw me. I guess that's a name I haven't heard
is
yet.
this the company you worked with to
Yeah.
get?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
so
goes online.
I will move approval.
I second with a comment.
Okay,
This lady here did yeoman's work to work out the bugs, and she's did on behalf of the town, so thank you, Karen.
well,
Welcome,
hopefully,
thank you.
hopefully now that it's all up, it's been corrected, all they gotta do is the updates.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Look it up and give me a call back.
And
Okay.
that's one part, this is the second part. Okay. Cartographic CAI has given us a scope of services, and you've reviewed this, Karen?
Yes, so this one was, we paid just under 2,500, I think, last year. The new agreement came in at 3,700. I went back and asked for an explanation and this, that, and making you a long story short, but he came back with a compromise of 3,000 to the detail of work that was needed after working with our town and deed reviews and these different things, the components of them keeping up our tax maps. I looked back to see what we paid historically, and I don't know the best way to say this. I guess it's a fair offer, in my opinion, I suppose, for what the services they're offering compared to what we paid in the past.
Was
with
this, no,
older
okay, he's
service.
saying this is for processing data recorded April 1st, 2019 through March 31st, 2020.
Yeah, so
Didn't we already have an agreement with them?
tax maps are done through, like for instance, the 2019 tax maps are done through March 31st of this year.
Right.
Then the 2020s are April 1 to.
Right, but
so
didn't
on,
we
but
already
that's-
have an agreement with him for this?
That's correct, and this is for next year, or whatever the dates are on it.
Right,
But
let's
that's
have
to
him-
continue.
Let's have him come in,
Okay,
because I'm not gonna have it creep. I mean, my
right,
brothers here might wanna have something else
I know
to
what
say
you
about
mean,
it.
yeah,
I think you
We're not negotiating every year. I thought when we originally signed up for this, he gave us a number, that was the number.
right,
So, yeah, have him come in.
no, that sounds
The
like a great
next
idea.
is,
I agree.
Board of Selectmen wish to thank the Tuftonboro Association for their donation of $4,760 to the town for the parking lot at the Great Meadow. The association's generosity and support of this community project is extremely appreciated. This is a thank you letter to Mark Howard, Tuftonboro Association.
I'll move approval.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And a thank you letter to Ray Everest of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. It's a long commute.
No, he sold Mary Roby's store.
Okay.
I'll move
Oh,
approval.
all right.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Grounds update. Anybody do
Let's see.
anything?
Planning board met on Thursday night and approved a draft schedule of fees that includes application fees that we haven't had in the past, and have scheduled a public hearing for our next meeting, which is in 17th of December, something like that, whatever it is, the third Thursday in December. So it includes the addition of an application fee that we haven't had in the past, and adjustments to site plan and subdivision fees. And I know that Matt talked with the budget committee about the addition of fees to help cover more of the costs.
Well, one of the things that I read in our copious correspondence was this change in the law that doesn't require, that we can't require a developer to have our engineer certified work.
I think that's a bill, that hasn't been passed. That's
I
a
thought
bill,
that did pass.
that's a bill that's in the legislature,
Okay,
yeah.
well, we need to keep an eye on that.
Absolutely, yeah, right.
If that's the case, we gotta make a big fee number so that they pay for an engineer for us, 'cause
Well, yeah, that's right, because the idea that somebody can self-monitor and self-certify a job that they're doing, I think is fraught with all kinds of opportunity for
bad acts.
shenanigans, yeah. Just like, you know, even if you try and do it right, it's like proofreading your own work, you know, and you try and be diligent about it, you're not gonna catch all this stuff. You need a different set of eyes looking at it for sure. So that's my update for this week.
Lloyd?
Spoke to the Road Agent Conservation Commission. Larry Gill mentioned that there's a wooden dock floating in the water next to Lang Pond Road. Told Jim about it, and his crew will pick it up before it freezes.
It's
And
in Mirror Lake?
in Mirror Lake. And 2 beaver dams have been constructed, and he will work with the
That's what beavers do.
Yeah, I'm not gonna comment on that, I'm on the Beavers side.
Right.
You can be that bad guy.
Did we receive any accident reports, Karen, for Tufton Road, Four Corners?
No.
Would you please put a request in again? I'm backing you up on your
Yeah, we just
interesting
need to-
experience.
I mean, I wouldn't have, I should have believed it. I didn't really believe it. I thought it was just an apocryphal story, but now I saw it, I have to believe it. Kind of like spaceships, you know, once you see one, they're out there.
I will be out of town the 27th, December 1st.
You're gonna be out of the country,
I'll be,
right?
yes, I'll be at,
So we're not gonna be able to contact you.
I'll be doing hockey games for UNH in Belfast.
They
Dublin,
play
Belfast,
hockey.
Belfast, yeah.
Oh, Belfast, yeah, they play hockey there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, safe travels to you.
Yeah, it should be a good trip.
There's another comment I want to make. The CIP committee, to an individual, appreciates, Bill, what you did in working with Jill Cromwell. You're a former chairman, and you saved, as she quotes, hours of time. So thank you, my friend.
My pleasure.
Yes.
It's some of the arcane stuff behind the scenes that just
But
get
you-
the numbers right,
The
so.
sausage making.
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
Thank you again, sir. The last thing is, when you were talking about fees, is it appropriate, in past years, I think every other year, we've asked our department heads to review the fees, especially at the transfer station, to make sure they're in the ballpark. Would that be appropriate to ask our department heads to do a little double checking?
Yeah, I don't know that we want to load them up with work in budget season. I mean, if we want to change the fee for whatever reason at the transfer station, we can do that as a board.
Well, this is what I was thinking, is we post all of this information in the town report. And in the past, it's always been convenient to do it at this time. Just I toss it out for
Yeah, we're
Addition.
gonna have to, speaking of town report, we're gonna have to make a decision on that as well,
It's in
at
there.
some point in time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm not ready, do you want anything else? I'm sorry.
Nope, all set.
I'm not ready to go completely black and white on the town report. What did I do? I did a bunch of stuff.
Did you have a broadband committee last week?
I did not, they didn't have a meeting last week.
I don't know.
No, they had one this week.
December 12th.
What's that?
December 12th, Wolfboro
December
Town Hall.
12th.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
coming up.
So
And the
that's-
last meeting's on YouTube.
Yeah, last meeting's on YouTube. And, Jesus, I know I did some budget stuff into the insurance business. I guess I'll leave it at that. We've had some inquiries on the cemetery, we talked about that earlier. I'm going through the correspondence file. The Conservation Commission is gonna come in and complete the purchase of, in the Great Meadow.
Yeah, you got the grant, right?
Yeah, we need to,
Invoice them, and then I just
Right.
wanna make sure that's okay with you, and
Okay,
so
He asked that I
I
generate
move that
that.
we invoice DES for, what's the amount?
$76,500.
$76,500.
I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's the grant funding on the purchase of the Sergeant and Phelps property.
Right.
Right.
We've got a New Day Energy LLC estimate for replacement of the pellet hopper at the townhouse with service labor parts, and I guess they're gonna give us a credit of $300 for the current bin. So their estimate is $3,315. Did this go out as an RFP?
I'll
Or they
let Bill
just-
speak to that. I just.
It did not. This is the company that furnishes the system and maintains the system.
Okay.
So,
We've contracted with them in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's their system.
I'm waiting for
So-
somebody else.
no, I think we do it. We have money left in the budget for the townhouse to cover all of that cost. It will take care of an ongoing problem with the pellet silo.
Okay, and out of what line are we taking this one?
Well, I would say it goes against townhouse maintenance.
Yeah.
Right, so we've got $1,400 left in there, we've got $1,300 left in townhouse improvements, and we have
That's enough.
$1,200 left in townhouse outside maintenance, so
Okay, so the,
I'd put it against the townhouse maintenance line and just use some of that other money
you know,
from the,
Meet the bottom line.
yep,
okay, so the bid is, or the estimate is $3,315, so I'm gonna ask that we approve that.
so I'll move approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The annual report, we either, I don't like, I mean, we're getting on close to noon.
Yeah,
We can talk about the annual report the next time we meet. Or do you want to talk about it today?
I guess my opinion is based on what I saw so far, unless we're gonna go out to a full RFP, I think we just do it with the guy that's been doing it, who's been doing good
They're
work for us.
fantastic, yeah.
How much lead time do they need?
What,
They work so well with me. I mean, I can give last minute things. I mean,
That's the current
they're just,
company?
yeah, their customer service is incredible.
so they're a little bit more money, but yeah, so we get a better report. How many volumes are we ordering?
We'll be less this year because we ordered too much last year. We ordered 500, I believe. So I have to look and see what we had left over, but I'd probably say at least 50 less.
So 450,
Excuse me.
okay.
This gentleman just happened to come in on a whim type thing, dropped off his information.
All right. So do we want to award the contract for the town report to Minuteman Press?
I move that we stay with Minuteman Press for the
I'll
annual
second.
report for this year.
That's made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Dear the selectmen were asked if they could get a summary from you stating the percentage that each Tuftonburg property assessment changed with the reevaluation. Can you provide that? And we have that here.
That's the thing Gordon asked about in budget committee, so I just wanted to,
Really?
yeah, he wanted to see how assessments change percentage wise.
It's in no particular order. Oh, a tax map order. Is that what it is?
Yes.
He said this was our assessor mentioned on his note that this was done before his hearings with people, so the assessment might be
Okay,
different
so
now,
this is-
but.
Gordon wanted that?
Yeah, I just wanna make sure if everything's, you know, A, let you know I got it, and B, just make sure, alright, I'll pass that along.
Do we have a problem sharing it with our
No.
budget director?
No,
No, it's
public
public
information.
No,
information.
yeah, just
Okay.
So,
figured to go in the right order.
Could there be a copy kept by the computer, because people ask about it?
Okay. You mean for leave it out on
Sure.
there?
Okay, Larry Gill has asked for clarification on our RFP for data environmental services proposal for up around the landfill.
and, no, Larry is working on putting together wording for an RFP for
Okay.
us.
Yeah.
So he's reached out, I think, to DES, and he's gonna give us
Okay.
a suggested language for an RFP.
And we already have received from the state a list of qualified
Okay, there's an
businesses.
upcoming webinar, what municipal officials need to know about cable TV franchising today. It's gonna be on December 18th, 12 PM to 1 PM. Joe will have to watch this because he knows what we're talking about.
And the presentation is being done by our attorney.
Really?
This is in
Yeah,
reference
DTC.
Oh,
to,
Catherine Miller.
Yeah.
Yeah,
what is it, Chip?
it's a webinar,
Oh,
On
okay.
cable TV franchising.
All right,
So,
December 18th.
Karen can register you for it. You know, it's
okay,
one
I'll
of these,
stop by, yeah.
just you go online and click into it, but you have to be registered in order
To get on it,
to
yeah.
get on it. So, yeah.
Okay.
So they're looking for information from us there, right?
What that last thing was. Oh, so this is the Carroll County broadband. I know you were gonna go to one of the meetings, but you were gonna mention to him the services
Right.
that we have here in town, and I think you missed that meeting, but I let him know what I knew.
Yeah.
And is there anything you can add to that? Does that sound right? It's on what do we have as broadband service in this town at what facilities? And I responded saying, I believe
Yeah.
it's these, but Chip will follow up with you.
Do we have it at the,
Townhouse?
no, at the highway garage? I don't see that we have it.
I don't think so.
No.
Okay, so I'll go with
So that was my response at the top there.
Town offices, central fire station, library, police department, and transfer station. And you're not sure what the school has, so,
Yeah. I can certainly call and ask, but,
yeah. So that should answer that question.
okay, just wanna make sure. I
And
know.
we can get a hold of the school, and it also included your parcel count.
Yeah, that's all set. I sent him that, yeah.
Okay, and they'll get the results of the letters we sent to the various broadband suppliers for request for coverage.
Yep.
There's a bunch of stuff in the other file here,
It's all for fun.
Yeah.
yeah, except for, I'm not sure this timber cutting, that needs to not be in that.
Okay.
Do we need to sign it?
No, the taxpayer hasn't paid their taxes, they don't get to cut their trees until they pay their taxes.
Oh, okay.
Or post a bond, right?
Yep.
they're gonna post a bond, they ought to just pay their taxes.
I
Exactly what I mentioned, yeah.
And we haven't set a bond amount yet, you know? So, yeah, I think the rest of this is all, other than, we should probably start a file for Belknap on their dispute with,
We do put that in the building file.
because I think they're appealing that notion of using the Farm Island land without a permit, and they're saying it's I don't know what they're saying, I'm not gonna put words in their mouths. Keep it up, I'm gonna publish in our town report with your agreement, just what we do get and payment in lieu of taxes from each individual camp. Because we're getting precious little from some of them, and they're not obligated to give us a cent. But I'm not obligated to think that they're doing a good job of teaching public service awareness. Anyway, do we have anything else for today? Before I get grumpy.
Public
I
input.
haven't had any, yeah, this is, you're right. I haven't had any breakfast, so it's
No,
almost lunchtime.
No wonder. No wonder. I'm good.
Okay, you good? I'm gonna move the meeting closed.
Can I say something? I just said
Oh,
public
Jesus.
input.
Go ahead.
Next time I'll bring you a hard-boiled egg, at least I'll put a pen out there so you can write all this stuff. All
I
right,
have a
I'm gonna
pen.
work backwards, and these are just comments. Lloyd, in reference to transfer station fees, okay? And I know Clay does a good job, but I wouldn't want to see us go on a Wolfboro, somebody else to see what their rates are, as opposed to what it actually costs us to get rid of. Okay. Bill, when we're at the meeting on the 18th, and we talked about raising the fees.
Yes.
And I understand, we need money to cover it. And someone made a comment, well, we're just gonna pass the fees on to the contractor. Well, from the contractors, it's gonna go on to the person, I mean, it's all downhill.
So I think the question about and my memory is, when you're doing a project, okay, you come to the planning board does work on it. There's a cost associated with getting that through the process and approved and all that. Who should pay for it? Should the taxpayer pay for it, or should the person that's doing the project pay for it?
Well, my point was the way I took it, and we're gonna be on this long. They said the fee, well, we'll just pass the fees on to the contractor. And I'm thinking to myself, well, yeah, okay, the contractor doesn't care, he's just gonna pass it on to the builder. That was just what I see, and I thought.
That's right, but that's no different than saying,
Okay.
are you gonna tax a business because the business passes it on to who they sell their product to? So,
Yeah, it just changes the cost of the
right.
Okay. Moving on, because I want to get out of here too. This HUD grant,
HUD.
HUD grants, okay? And she made a comment, well, the money is going to go to the selectmen and they'll disperse it to the group. Now you just got involved already, and I guess my question is, for $500,000, we wouldn't just put that in our budget, would you?
No, it's managed in a special
It
account.
has to be.
Okay.
And the reason it goes to a government agency for disbursement as opposed to directly to, like the co-op, is so there's some ongoing accountability.
Right, okay. Thank you. Last thing. You just mentioned something about TDS, okay? And I just read the article in the newspaper about there's a bill where we can request the cable companies and stuff, find out where there's no service. And did you say that you sent out a list to all that service us, or just TDS?
No.
I guess
No, all of the companies who service Tuftonboro have been sent the same letter.
Yeah, I just added TDS this week.
Just today's
Spectrum.
letter was TDS.
Yeah.
Okay, but we're gonna send one to Spectrum.
Right, I did that
We
last
did that
week.
last week.
Oh, okay. I had enough, thank you very much.
Okay, I move that we adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.